love this bathroom.
which is defined as the therapeutic effect of contact with nature.
My favorite kind of design. This is just for me a little bit too impractical. I'm gonna send it on this one. Let's just go.
My name is Alex Lee and I am from Design Seeds. Today's episode, we are about to unveil the smallest home we ever featured on our channel. The selected site involves a short but strenuous climb to a relatively level plateau. The plan of the single-story pavilion is unpretentious.
This
The
is
linear
so pretty.
accommodation is just 3.6 meters wide.
This is also a linear design, actually, which is really cool. I do really like this. I think that this flows really nice. I think because it's in a tropical place, the one thing that I always will pay attention to when looking at small designs especially is like storage availability and where you would put your things. I don't know if this is just if it's just a Canadian thing or if it's in other places too, but because our weather's not good and stuff, we always have closets at our front doors and places for shoe storage and stuff because we take our shoes off in the house. I think America doesn't. But from the get-go, right, I see here is like this, I think is the front door, and they don't have any of that. So if you're coming in with handbags, scarves, or a purse or whatever, I don't see anywhere that you can put that down. But this is really cute. I like this.
Semi-walled garden with a series of cool still ponds and 4 gentle
Hold. The garden is like literally like 3 of these houses. This is stunning though. This is so pretty.
waterfalls, creating the soporific sound of running water.
Wow. And I think when you live in a place like this that's so hot,
Consisting of an intimate living and dining room,
you can really
a
get away.
wonderfully romantic bedchamber, an open-to-sky bathroom beneath the forest canopy, and a
I love this bathroom. Oh my gosh, this is like the dream to be able to have one of those like outdoor bathrooms that have plant life just like growing everywhere. This is so beautiful.
cantilevered east-facing balcony.
Stepping through a timber door set in a portal
Wow.
is a bench conveniently located to the left of the entrance, and a view opens up to a borrowed landscape of mountains to the east.
This is like a real
Each is choreographed.
design presentation. This isn't even just like a tour. This is like, we're going to introduce you to the actual intent of the design, which I think is really cool because you don't really get a lot of that, I think, in YouTube house tours. This is like, this kind of vernacular and the way that this is being presented is very much what you would see like in the industry, which I think is really cool.
Flanking the watercourse and descending via a series of shallow platforms.
Sometimes I find like having to come up with this vernacular though, like when you do it in design presentations and stuff, sometimes I find it can be a little bit cringe, but
A sliding timber door that gives access to the living space, entered by a short flight of steps.
The side facing on the villa is directed to face the scenic cascading landscape. Avoiding direct sunlight, the picturesque view is always pleasant to the eye.
It takes some getting used to learning how to kind of like interpret and internalize what some of this more artistic vernacular around the presentation of architecture, like what that is. Like it's almost like its own language in a way. Just when I see my designers in my studio and stuff doing it as well, it's like there's like a switch flicks. It's kind of in the same way that there's this way of speaking that is very white collar or like very office way of speaking. It's like design has a similar way of doing that. It's very neat.
The bedroom faces larger greeneries that gives the interior more privacy
So
and
pretty.
shade, keeping the bedroom always in a romantic and cozy setting.
The one thing I am seeing with this bedroom design, I think they have a wardrobe at the back here, but this design feels very, very, very minimal, and I think that's definitely the intent. I'd be curious to see what this design would look like and how it would function if there was someone living there full time. It feels more to me like a space that you would rent, like a vacation rental or something, rather than a full-time dwelling. And I think to add to that feeling, we'll get another shot of the kitchen, but it just has a very small linear kitchen that doesn't really feel as practical either. It just kind of feels like it's there. But I love these windows. This 4-post bed is so
The end of
nice.
the layout with the most iconic feature in the villa, an open-to-sky bathtub as the focal highlight complemented
So
with a high gable
beautiful!
roof
So
feature
beautiful.
that lies shaded beneath the tall, unruffled tropical trees. The structure of the pavilion came about in a serendipitous manner. Inch Lim learned of an abandoned sawmill at Labis in Johor.
Oh,
and
they're
in
teaching us how
2014
they
suggested
did it,
acquiring the
even.
timber that was
That's
still
cool.
in good condition and
Here I thought we were
recycling
getting
it
like
to
a just
construct
like a
wedding
really
hall
simple,
at the
nice
foot of
tour,
the
and
hill,
it's turned into
using
this
full
whole
timber to construct the honeymoon
project
pavilion.
presentation.
Accordingly selected timber trusses, beams, purlins, rafters, joists, and cladding were transported north and cleverly incorporated into a new structure.
Wow. This is really beautiful. Yeah, we'll get into, I guess, the practical
The wall
implications
garden
in a
has
sec.
nurtured Jamalia's growing interest in biophilia, which is defined as the therapeutic effect of contact with nature.
My favorite kind of design! I love
The positive
biophilic
effect
design.
on healing from interaction with nature were evident.
Oh, so beautiful.
Jamalia, the owner, is planning a biophilic retreat by Sungai Langat.
Wow.
My plants need to grow in the morning sun. If this was an afternoon sun, it wouldn't be the same. Right? They love morning sun. So I set out the garden in the morning sun.
That's a passive architecture strategy you see as well, orienting your the spaces or the things on your site so that you account for where the sun moves or where the wind currents flow, and you can harness the natural energies in the environment around you to optimize your design. So it's really cool seeing it here. The biophilic aspects of the design, I've talked about biophilia on the stream in the past. It's one of my favorite kinds of design. Biophilic design and passive architectural design are my favorites. They're both my favorites, and those are both heavily relying on your natural environment in order to, and on nature itself, to elevate your design and make it feel more comfortable, uplifting, nice to be in.
We needed to identify the space. So we did it by using walls and doors and the hedge. So that gives us intimacy. And then we use the water feature for two things. One is that it directs our view.
I wish we
When
could
you
do
look
water
down
features in
to
Canada.
The top, the water
We
cascades
can, but
down
it's just, it
and
freezes
points
for 8 months of the
really
year.
directly at that top of that hill.
And I think in Canada, like the expansion and contraction of materials when we're looking at water elements, I think that gets a little bit difficult to manage because of the freeze-thaw cycle and how water is. You have to make sure for any water elements that they're drained before it gets too cold, and it just seems like a lot of work for such a small window of time that you can actually use and appreciate it. I would love
And of
to have a
course, make
fountain
sure
in my
there's a
yard,
beautiful
though. I
garden
wish
that
we
you
could.
It's lovely sitting here, sort of listening to that water cascading down. I think the trick really is that the height and the volume of water has to be finely tuned so you get the sound, but not too much of the sound.
These are things too that I have never really
I'm getting
considered before. I think that's really cool.
Jamila describes it as a piece of heaven that reminds me of verses in the Quran.
This is one of those spaces that I would love to visit in person because I
We
don't feel
are-
like the video is going to do it justice and how it would actually feel to be there. The amount of thought
Like
and
I said
intention put
before,
into every aspect of the
you have a
design,
dream,
even from the speed
and
of the
somebody
flowing
else
water. I think
pays
that's
for
so
you
cool.
to bring that dream down and to actually actualize it. Right?
Wow.
Can you imagine that? It's amazing. It's amazing life, but obviously you're not likely to be rich, but that's okay. You have a rich life without being rich.
We thank you for supporting us throughout these years in bringing up the design scene and its value.
Wow. Okay.
We are constantly hunting high and low to unveil more and more compelling
Where
design
did we get the
episodes.
interior shots?
Support us
I
by
want
clicking on the
those.
super thanks button below.
Yeah, okay, this is stunning. This is literally art. I think it's art before it is functional, but I also don't necessarily know if functionality was entirely the intent anyways. Let's pause here for a sec because this does feel like an Airbnb. I'd like to know if this is a vacation rental or maybe this is just like a vacation home for the owners and they will visit it sometimes. There is no fridge. There is no stove. It's very clear that I think like all the effort and thought really, really went into more of the relationship with the outdoor space, which makes sense given that the garden was the original intent of the design in the first place. You could maybe have an L-shaped kitchen and increase the size of it here. This alone would feel incredibly impractical. I'm not seeing any food storage space, any storage space for any personal belongings. As I mentioned, looking at the layout when we had it popped up at the beginning, like having nowhere when you first walk in the door to put stuff down, like it would all probably just get thrown or tossed on the corner of this sofa. I know we're aspiring for minimalism here with a lot of these designs, but I still can't ignore the fact that there has to be some practical aspects implemented. The bathroom is amazing. The bedroom even, I'd like to see if I can get a shot of that too. While it is very, very lovely, I also don't really see a lot of room for where you're going to actually be able to put your personal belongings. Let's see. I mean, I guess there's a wardrobe on this side and there's a wardrobe on that other side, so that might be good. That might be enough. But I think for me, the deal breaker of this one is just that kitchen dining situation. The cascading step up though is so stunning. I love this. And the cantilevered balcony, I would live out there. I would live out there. The fact that they have it facing the east, I think is really smart. The harshest sun, actually, the sun that is the most invasive and kind of brutal to sit in, is actually more in the later afternoon into the evening. The morning sun is a lot more pleasant. Yeah, just a small apartment hunting tip. The southeast facing direction is most ideal to have nicer sunlight, and if you face southwest where the sun is most intense, I think that's when you risk more of like that unwanted heating and stuff. That is my understanding of it and how it works as well. This is just for me a little bit too impractical. There could maybe be the opportunity to give some space, looking at this floor plan here, to take some space from the living room, because you do have the outdoor living space. Taking some space from there and giving it over to the kitchen and maybe putting kind of the dining space in the middle, that could be an option. I would assume, based on the intent of the design and what we've seen here, I don't think they would miss out on like not having a TV and stuff. But I did notice too that in the living room shot here, you can see the sofa just faces a window. The interior living space to me does not really serve too much of a purpose when you have that beautiful outdoor space. I don't know if we really got another shot of the bathroom that wasn't this one, because I would have liked to see how the vanity is oriented and where the toilet is, how that relationship looks. Jumping back here too, you can kind of see, actually I think this is a different plan. This is probably the accurate plan. The first one that we saw had a different bathroom layout, but this one looks more correct. Again, I'm still seeing a lack of storage. I don't know where you'd put all of your towels and your linens and stuff. And it does look like a very small vanity, especially for how much real estate you have here. But, like, aesthetically, so stunning. This is a really, really beautiful house. I wish that we could have vegetation like this in Canada. We do not. Being able to have more of like a jungle environment. It's the coolest, I find the coolest homes are tropical homes. So this was cool. Cool. Very neat.